I don't think this will take nearly as long. We'll kind of go over some of the other ones. Really, it's just an update from the other day. It's still really hard to stream this stuff because what's the odds of what seems like it's going to happen is happening, and just seems like it's been that way since the start of the new year. Name of the game, we're still in the same place. I still think that we're going to come down to here. Maybe we drop all the way down to 98. I still think that's a possibility if we look at it over from this. Uh, Sorry, I had a burp. If we look at it from this perspective, like, right, we can kind of see it makes sense. Like, sure, maybe it even drops all the way down to 94. That's like the next base case. Um, but with how sketchy everything is, I still think I think it's going to bounce somewhere between 98 and 100 anyway. I think it has to. How far it really goes, I think it could go all the way back up to like 105, somewhere around there. If we look on like the left sides here, 105 puts us right around here, here, here. Let me look up a little bit more. 110 seems somewhat reasonable from the other stuff, but it comes back quite a bit. But I still think we're gonna have a significant bounce here, and then that's more or less, in my opinion, the time to reassess. And I can show like some other things that I've been looking at, where I think other levels and other things might be when we see stuff like that happening. From a month time frame, it almost seems like it would very likely come back down to this area. But we also have week time frame averages here as well, so I wouldn't jump to it falling all the way down to the month yet. And also another thing is, yes, we do have this, and it is a strong area. This has been a relatively big drop. Yeah, it's been a big rise up, but it's been a it's just been a very quick drop. So I could see once it finds like a reasonable place for support that it could actually do something. Okay, so now that we got out of the way, let's just kind of go to the obvious. And so I don't know why we don't have the new day here. Something's off. I'm almost positive because anyway, it's not like a huge thing. I don't think. Maybe it's just something on TradingView side. But we can see that the new day has started 23 hours and 18 minutes right until it closes. Why don't we have our new day? Anyway, our new day is supposed to be right around here. So we have opened up under this. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do end up moving a little bit farther down. That's pretty much what I see. That's the base case for me for the dollar. And then we'll kind of go through all the other stuff. So let's go to Apple. We talked about this in the other video. I think the one I put out on the first and the one I put out yesterday. At this current time, I'd like to see it get back above. I think before I said I thought maybe it'd get it to 135. It's struggling quite a bit. Um, it's doing fairly well. It's struggling quite a bit, I guess, compared to some of the other stocks. But long story short, I'm just going to keep it simple. I believe that we need to get back into this place, and then this is pretty much our range. So I believe the range is between 135.30 and let's say 141. I think that's pretty safe to say. 135.30 and 141. We're not at 135.30 yet. I'd like to see something start all the way up here. We'll see if it can get some upwards pressure like that. I still think at the end of the day, with the dollar, we'll probably see something like this, and then it'll come back down. That's what I'd expect. And something here, and then, try to make for a big movement up. We'll really just have to see. NASDAQ, we could look at this. And I remember saying this a while ago too. I think I said it like somewhere around here, where what I wanted to see was essentially this and then this. So in my opinion, NASDAQ's definitely a buy. I think it was already before, which is kind of tough ever since. It was sad what happened, but I guess, what did I say, the first? So since this day, a little saddening. I don't understand why the dollar went up still, especially now that we're all the way here. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. But yeah, so I mean, really the buy point was somewhere around here. I mean, it's if you're messing with the Nasdaq, I guess itself specifically. We could also look at it in some other respects, but we started above today. We got really nice support, kind of holding this really aggressive trend here. And I think more or less we're looking at something like this, possibly 12.1 as an upwards target. Maybe we see some resistance here and we can go into it like this. I think this looks pretty decent here and then here. So take profit 11.8 and then 12.021 or 12. I think is probably just a little bit safer. Those look like good spots right there. It is always possible that we come back down in this area, depending on how quick it came back down. Um, most likely it would be able to keep a higher low here and then be able to push back up for something strong. I expect this to more likely push up because the dollar is still going to be weak. Um, but we'll kind of see where it is. Some things are a little overheated. I think Bitcoin is another example of something I think is a little bit overheated. Bitcoin could come back down. I would like it to come back down. I think the bullish case is that Bitcoin comes back down and starts the new week right above here, above 18,045.7. That's what I would like to see personally from this. I don't want to see it go all the way up here and do this and then have to come back down here where support is and then create all this, which could be like one, two. You see what I'm saying here? High, lower high, lower high. I don't want this to be like a lower high. I want this to have potential building up here to wreck out these shorts and then being able to get a higher high than here, which is it really is something. I'm not going back over this. Anyone that's seen these videos for a while, you know what these lines are. Representations essentially of where it first hit. This is the 4 hour in the day. This is the week. And so this has been, I put this here when it first came down, this, before it even did anything. And this held really well to this. So long story short, this is just a really strong line for what it is. So I don't necessarily expect it to just come up. I don't think it's bad that it's coming down though. I'd like to see the week start above here. And I think that's essentially like the basis for Bitcoin. I think it's in a great spot though for alts. I would still like to see the week uh, personally, the week time frame start, or a new week candle start above 18,045.7. But it's definitely possible where it is. This is more or less of a power position where it has room to move down. When it's in a power position because moving down right now brings it to a place of like strong consolidation, especially considering what we've seen with the dollar and the possible another like 2 to 3.5% drop from where it currently is before it might try to really push back up. Um, so in that regard, this could be some nice. I don't want to say like distribution in that sense, but like in the idea of like distribution or like that, this could be a nice time for people transferring their. I'll say it this way. A lot of times I've seen it. I don't want to say this is what's going to happen, but a lot of times I've seen it with Bitcoin where when Bitcoin looks okay to go down, but it's not going to get like wrecked down, like it looks okay to go here and then consolidate in this area and it just needs to hold here. Generally, what I've seen in the past, like 4 years looking at this stuff, I guess, for almost five now, is that this is when people switch their money over to alts because they don't think Bitcoin's really going to drop. So there isn't going to be that snowball effect of, oh, Bitcoin goes down, which affects the alts. So people sell the alts, then sell the Bitcoin, which creates that snowball effect. This is where people are like, hey, Bitcoin's going down, but it's not going down too much. So we'll just move to an alt because Bitcoin needs to consolidate a little bit lower. So long story short with that, let's go to DIA. Nothing too crazy here. We can see the bounce that we had on the daytime frame. It's going to be the same for the Dow Jones also as well. And then we can see on the week time frame we hit up here. So really for like long-term investments, we could see this in the new year that it made sense just to get into a position with what like the odds were just in the favor of the bulls. But for like a long term, I still think a lot of this is really just fade the rally until we see a couple things. So like the Dow Jones is kind of the easiest way to mention this, that we want to see price action here above 35,000. A little bit of consolidation would be nice. It could just hold there really quickly and then run for like a day or two and then just. But really, we want to see something up here. We want to see the dollar index fall under. So the thing is, if it could bounce here at 98.3, it could bounce a little bit lower at 98. But what we don't want to see essentially is, especially at this point, considering it'll be under everything at this part, what doesn't look good or what looks good for stocks is falling under all of this in this position and then coming back up. So for this, I would be hesitant, and I'm going to be hesitant, with trading in positions if and when we actually come down under here, this 98. But anything that comes under here and then comes back above the 375 and the 500, to me, that's it. It's go. It's Gucci. We're going. We're shooting back up. Stocks are going to shoot back down. But I do think there is that high potential of this coming down under here and then getting stuck under this 99 100 spot. This area right here pushing down, bringing us down back into the month time frame. We have what the week was right here, and then the months are all the way down here. So wow, it's quite a bit of a drop, um, from where it is. So that's always definitely possible. I mean, I guess yeah, no. So we do have like one right there. So this is always definitely a possibility, and I definitely see this as a big possibility. But we'll have to see that. Like I said, the dollar's dropping so quickly. So that and also the VIX. The other one is the VIX. So we did start above today. It didn't really matter with the CPI report, and at the same time, the dollar really is I still think is the biggest determining factor from this. So we did talk about this yesterday. Possibly, if it starts up here, it could push up. But it goes against everything that the dollar looks like it wants to do, and that it's been doing so far. And the big thing for the VIX, just to kind of get straight to the point that we want to see. So we talked about the dollar index coming down to that 98.3 spot and possibly finding resistance at that 99.6 area, or not 90, at 99.6, which would be very bad, no bueno. A week or a month starting under currently where we are on the week time frame would be a week or a month starting under 17.70. So if we're going to see it happen on a week if it is before it happens on the month, most likely, because we have what, 2 more weeks in the month. So that's going to be the first thing. And then on the month time frame where we currently are, 1770 on a week, we don't want to see it start under, or if you're bullish, you do want to see it start under that. But also the dollar index is going to be important to look at too. And I don't think just the VIX. I don't think we're in a position where just the VIX is going to show anything, or just the dollar specifically. I weight the dollar index because the trend looks so much stronger than the VIX, which was just in a period of like back and forth. Like this whole period, this whole place is a place of confusion. And even where it is now, it's like I could still see it coming back up to test. I don't think it's necessarily going to do that, and I don't think that means the market's going to go down. But I could see something like that. So the VIX doesn't hold as much weight for me right now. It's really like the dollar index, DXY is about 70%. The VIX maybe like 30. Maybe it's 80-20. But these are still key areas that I'm really looking for, because if we look back here, we've never started a week under here, and we've never started a month under here. So this is definitely a big shift in the trend. If we do see something like that. And let's just kind of go to some of these other ones. Obviously, I still think this stuff's good for gold. It's pretty much no brainer in that sense. I guess just to touch back on this, we might have pushed through it. So we have started the day above here. We talked about this. I didn't really think this was going to affect the U.S. markets. I still don't really believe this affected the U.S. markets that much. I don't think this is any reason that the U.S. markets went up. I just don't. But we called this. We said we called this. We talked about this. This is pretty easy to see, and we're having a little struggle here. So a couple interesting things to note, actually. And let's show the month real quick, I guess here. So right, boom, we fall under resistance, pushed all the way down, shoot up. Anyway, so we're all the way over here. So we do have a lot of stuff above us. So we'll really see, really getting into a tricky spot where we are right now. So it could push up. It did start the day above. So for me, I could say this is a buy spot, but the big issue is we're looking at what, 700 points? We're looking a little bit shy of 700 point possible gain, which is about 3.5% or something like that. It's like three and a little bit of some change percent. It's not really that big. Anyone playing the percentage since I mentioned it, which was I mentioned it on the first, so like here. So anyone would have gotten in here. This would have been the range to play already. So when we look at it in these kind of aspects, is you take profits, excuse me, and then you let a little bit run. So it's already gone up almost 11%. Fighting a lot for that last 3% doesn't really make a lot of sense, does it? It really doesn't. From a trading perspective, you take out the bulk of what you have here and you let the rest run. generally in these situations. If you want to keep some exposure, just so you're not, pissed off at yourself or I sold out. So in that same sense, is a lot of how a lot of people trade. Is this is generally the that weaker echelon or the weaker kind of area trading zone. So let's kind of go to some other stuff. I don't think there's really anything to talk about with gold really whatsoever at all. We can look at the other one for gold also as well. We're almost like in a new area here, so it's possible maybe we push up. I like this one a little bit more, but it kind of is what it is. We can see on the daytime here, nothing on the month, which is a little upsetting. I'm not a huge fan of that. I don't remember why I said this up here. Okay, yeah. So the week time frame. Whoops. So I did mention this at some point, possibly going from here to here. Nice 7.85%. We're not there yet. I think it's going to push in. I actually think it could easily push up to the 375 here. It's a lot riskier because if we look at taking this position, here's a little sketchy because we're still under this line. We can see is a really big determinant. But at this point, we're boom above here, above this, and we're above this, which seems pretty straightforward. It would have a decent shot at trying to push up here. So it seems a little greedy to stay in gold. This is the same thing as I don't even remember the last thing I was looking at. I honestly really don't. But this is the same kind of thing. Or the Hang Seng. This reminds me of the Hang Seng where already taken that already got in the money and people are probably taking profit already. Mara, we talked about this. Could have a little bit of difficulty. We'll see. I think it'll have a little bit of difficulty here, but it could keep running. It's definitely possible. It's at that 730 area. My biggest issue with Mara is I could see Bitcoin coming down a little bit, and I really want to see next week if we can start above that 18,000 and like 46.7 spot for another push up. But I would expect this to try to trickle down a little bit. We'll see. Leaving some exposure, I think is important in times like this where it looks like the dollar would want to go down anyway and continue going down. I'm hoping that what doesn't happen, like from if I wanted to be a bull here, I don't really care which way it goes, but if I wanted to be a hard bull here, ooh, man. Oh, I pulled something in my finger or something. Oh my gosh. Jeez, I was trying to like crack my finger or something or stretch something. Wow. Anyway, but the worst case for me if I was like a super hard permable is that things push up too much and then hit those targets. And then that aligns with those spots I was talking about with the dollar bouncing 98 and then 99.6. More specifically, 99.6 to kind of expect a harder bounce or like a bounce to be afraid of. 98.3, like I said before, I'd like to see it back above 100. And then I would be way more worried about that bounce if it can get up there. And so I kind of talked about this at one time previously, talking about, what the heck? Oh, Nasdaq. Talking about the same thing here, like right when we're talking, go to one of the videos. I don't remember which one, but like we're talking about it like here, where I'd like to see it come down here and then come up, and it's the same principle when I was talking about Nasdaq, and I don't think Nasdaq did it. Maybe it did. I don't pay attention to these things all the time, but the same thing with Nasdaq. I remember saying here is like this would look a lot nicer if we came up, and then we came right into this position too, and we can already see how nice this truly is for the time being, anyway. Like, look at that. That is nice. Little sketchy here, I'll admit. Nice. Little sketchy, but nice. I could definitely see making money off this in a smaller position, nothing huge. But this is really beautiful consolidation right here before it's trying to like move up here, and that's really the best thing to see. And it kind of goes in with the same thing that we were saying. I guess we don't have a lot of time left, so I'll end it with this one. We'll just show DraftKings. I'm still a little sketched out by DraftKings, but I think it can push up here just because the dollar looks good. Any position DraftKings, I think I would look for the dollar reversal, and I don't think we're going to see that until like a 99.6 or 98.3. So I think this is fine to kind of run now, but I'm a little concerned with its past history of shooting up and then coming back down. Similar with PayPal, I'd be a little bit sketched about it. It likes to have feelers outside of here and then usually get wrecked back down. And then I think the one I wanted to show was Fun. I don't think I can show it in the last second. Fun was another one. We came all the way down. But yeah. Anyway, take care, guys. I'll see you around. And peace out. We'll see what happens. It looks like we finally got our new day candle.